Hey, did you know that over 50% of graduate school applicants get rejected every single year? That's right, over half of the applications get rejected, and that can be pretty discouraging when you put all that time and effort into your application and money only to hear, no, you're not accepted. So, what's the secret to beating the odds? Well, in today's video, I'm going to share 5 tips that may help you get into graduate school. Greetings all, Dr. X here. Good to see ya. All right, let's get right into the tips. Tip number 1, take a gap year or a semester and retake the classes that are bringing down your GPA. Now, I know you're watching those YouTube videos telling you to apply to top tier institutions with your 2.0 GPA. And from what I've seen, most of that advice is coming from someone who has not sat on a graduate faculty and evaluated the applications that are coming in. Well, you could try and take that advice, but I want to offer you some advice as a retired tenured university professor who's still listed on the graduate faculty at multiple institutions. Now, I'm giving you this advice as someone who has the experience as a graduate faculty member, both admitting and yes, rejecting some of the applications that have come through for the graduate students and for graduate programs. So I'm speaking from experience, and here's what I want to tell you. A 2.0 GPA will only get you so far in the application process. So when the faculty look at your transcript, here's what we're looking at: 2 things. We're looking at your cumulative GPA and the GPA for your major. We're holding up your application against the application of students with 3.5s, 3.75s, 4.0s. And if we have a limited number of seats we're accepting, then GPA becomes one of the screening criteria. Okay, so now that you understand that, it would be better if you would take some time and critically evaluate your transcript, and then go ahead and retake those classes in which you got a C or lower so that you can raise your overall GPA. Now, most institutions have what's called a second grade option. A second grade option is when you take a class a second time, and if your grade is higher the second time you take it, the first grade is either converted to a W, or it may even be wiped off of your transcript altogether. The key is that the grade from the first class is no longer added to your cumulative GPA. And it's a double bonus if that class was also one that was in your major, because that means it will also change your major GPA. So it's an instant boost. All right, the more C's, D's, and F's that you can get off your undergraduate transcript, the higher the GPA will be. So think about retaking classes for a second grade option. That's tip number 1. All right, tip number 2, consider admission rates when you're picking a graduate school. So you want to pick the right graduate programs for where you are academically. Now, here's what that means. I want you to research graduate programs offering your specialization or major, but also with your desired admissions rates. So, suppose you have to work, full-time. Let's suppose you're working a full-time job while in graduate school. I want you to look for graduate programs that have a robust part-time program, but that have better than 50% admission rates for part-time students. If you've struggled academically as an undergraduate and you'll be a full-time graduate student, I want you looking for programs with a better than 50% admission rate that offer academic support services like free tutors, free writing lab, graduate mentors, those kinds of things. All right. One of my favorite people on YouTube is Dr. Andy Stapleton. If you haven't checked him out, please make sure you go over and check him out. He has a website called Academia Insider. And in one of his articles, Dr. Stapleton talked about graduate school, and he talked about the admission rates for grad schools being around 15%. He went on to discuss how, because the rates are so low at 15%, even extremely impressive people with impressive qualifications, are getting rejected from graduate school. And I would agree with him. I think that is the case for some graduate programs, but I don't think that's the case for all graduate programs. So, for example, if you're trying to get in an MBA program at a tier one institution, which may only have about a 10% admissions rate, it's going to be significantly harder to get in that program versus a tier two institution with a 50% or 75% admission rate. Again, I want you choosing the best institution for where you are academically and also where you're committed to getting with your career and where your career trajectory is taking you. Okay. So that's tip number 2. Consider those admission rates. Okay. Tip number 3, apply for master's programs in addition to PhD programs. Now, this tip is for those of you who have only completed a bachelor's degree and you're applying for a PhD program that awards a master's degree along the way. For example, there are some programs in psychology and history and even STEM programs that admits undergraduate students with bachelor's degrees for PhD programs and award that master's degree along the way. Well, while you're applying for PhDs, maybe the PhD is your ultimate goal, but I want you to consider applying for master's programs if those master's programs would help you eventually reach a PhD. Now, you'll want to apply only if that would be a better path for achieving your academic and career goals. I want you to talk to an admissions advisor, admissions counselor, program specialist before you do that, though. But this may be a viable option for you that you haven't considered. So that's tip number 3. Okay, tip number 4, hire an editor. And that editor is going to review your personal statement, your writing samples, your letter of application, and your CV, your curriculum vitae. As someone who's reviewed the materials of hundreds of graduate applications, I found it extremely hard to look past all the typos, grammatical errors, run on sentences, misuse of APA, for example. For many faculty members, the application process, it's a real indication of how the students' papers are going to look once they get into their graduate classes. So many applicants are rejected during first level screening because the faculty could not understand what you had written. Listen, there are so many services that are available to help you write and prepare your application materials. Please, 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 just hire somebody. Just hire somebody that's going to proofread your documents and help you tighten up all of those application materials. Because ultimately, it will make a massive difference for those that are reading your applications. So please consider hiring an editor. Now, for those of you that may be in need of help to pull together your CV, don't worry, I got you. If you'll look in the description below, I'll leave a link for a free template that I have that you can use as a model for writing your CV. So again, just check the description, fill out the form, and I will email you a copy of the CV, all right? Or CV model, all right? That's tip number 4. Okay, we've finally reached tip number 5. So here's tip number 5. I want you to pick faculty members as references or as the people writing your recommendations whenever possible. You should get your letters of recommendations from faculty members. Now, if you are applying for a graduate program in your major, then have those letters of recommendation come from faculty members in your major area. If you have a minor or you had a minor during your undergraduate work, get a letter from someone in your minor area as well, especially if you're going to continue to do those minor studies or focus in those minor areas during your graduate work. It is better for all of your letters of recommendation, all of them, to come from faculty members because they can speak to your scholarly potential in graduate school. So a letter from a friend, a club advisor, or family member, never get letters of recommendation from family members. A letter from a friend, club advisor, or family member will not carry the weight. It won't carry as much weight as a recommendation from your faculty members. Now, remember, faculty members are considering your application and they value the opinions of other faculty members when considering your recommendation letters. So always, if possible, have your letters of recommendation come from the faculty. Those are 5 things you can do to improve your chances of being admitted to graduate school. Now, if you have any questions about anything I've already covered in this video, please go ahead and leave them below. I'll respond as quickly as possible. If you are a graduate faculty member with another tip, please feel free to share it in the comments below. Hey, thanks so much for watching today's video. I appreciate you engaging with the content here on The Womanist Scholar. Now, if you haven't already done so, please feel free to click the like button and also think about subscribing. That way you'll be notified whenever another video like this one comes out. Thanks so much for watching and have a terrific day.